4-12-1 a season ago, a rookie head coach, no Anthony Richardson, no Jonathan Taylor, no Jelani Woods, no Shaquille Leonard, no Isaiah Rodgers Sr., no Grover Stewart, so much adversity faced, and despite all of that, the Indianapolis Colts are still in the AFC playoff race and looking to make a run for it over these final 5 games as they sit at 7-5-1 and look to make the playoffs for the first time since 2020. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Horseshoe Show here on Surge Sports. I am your host, Jack Rizzo. Thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight as we start to get into the Christmas spirit. Christmas now just a couple of weeks away. Can't wait for it, So hope y'all are getting into the Christmas spirit now. It should be a great one, especially because we are now in the final stretch of the football season. And oh man, is this going to be a fun ride to the end. This has been one of the most unpredictable seasons in NFL history with all the injuries, all the surprising teams, all the disappointing teams, the surprising MVP candidates, and just players that we didn't even know about just emerging out of nowhere. And despite all of that, the Indianapolis Colts might be the most surprising team in the NFL this year. It is very close, but what the Colts have done this year after what happened last year, 4-12-1, losing their final 7 games, blowing the biggest lead in NFL history, all of that, and the fact they've turned this around in 1 year, where do I even begin with this team? There's just so much to talk about. The Colts again, 4-12-1 last year. Matt Ryan, the Colts were on their string of veteran quarterbacks. Going into this year, hired Shane Steichen, drafted Anthony Richardson. Expect this to be a year of growing pains for the Colts, some learning for Anthony Richardson, and hopefully just some more signs of what's to come. But unfortunately, he got hurt through the first 5, hurt in week 5. We've had some other injuries to deal with, and just haven't really been as talented as many other teams around the league. However, we just continue to play every week, and it is a testament to how good of a coach Mr. Shane Steichen is. I'm so incredibly grateful for him coming to the Indianapolis Colts. He is our savior. He has turned the culture around of this Colts team and made them into a winning franchise, and I absolutely love it. And again, this season has not been easy for the Colts. I know their Colts are currently sitting at 7-5. However, they were 3-5 at one point after that loss to the Saints in Week 8. We started to feel like the season was possibly over. Just try to spoil the playoffs just play spoiler the rest of the season, play with some pride, hopefully see some progress from the young guys. Instead, all of a sudden, don't look now, but the Colts are on a 4-game winning streak. I believe their longest winning streak since 2018. I believe 2018. Their longest winning streak, I believe, since 20. I'm trying to think. Hang on. But this is their longest winning streak though in quite a long time. I believe it's their longest winning streak since 2018 when they won 4 in a row at the end of the season. So what a turnaround this Indianapolis Colts team has been. Just absolutely unbelievable what they have done here. What Shane Steichen has done. Just an absolutely unbelievable season. But let's talk about this game. So the Colts are 4th straight win, a 31-28 overtime win over our rivals, the Tennessee Titans, the team that had beaten us 5 in a row coming into the season. Their fans giving us a hard time about it, just being overly cocky and, overconfident. But instead, they are now sitting here 4-8, last place in the division, and we have now swept them the season series. We beat Tennessee at home earlier this year for the first time since 2018, and we just beat them on the road for the first time since 2020. Our first one at Nissan Stadium in over 1,000 days. So it certainly feels great about that. And I will say it was not a pretty game by any means. A number of mistakes by the Colts and by the Titans as well. But, the Colts were ultimately able to pull it out in overtime thanks to some magic from Gardner Minshew and Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce forming that receiving duo that we thought we were getting at the beginning of the season. So, first off, let's just talk about Shane Steichen, the job he has done. In this game, I didn't agree with some of his play calling decisions. I mean, I thought we should have ran the ball more. I didn't like passing it at the 1-yard line on 3rd and goal. The 2-point conversion call was a little controversial because it turned into 2 points for Tennessee. Although Gardner probably should have underhanded the pass, not thrown it up top because that's just such a dangerous play. But, man, this guy, the Colts play with heart. They are ready every Sunday to play their opponent. He gets these guys ready. He gets them motivated. They play clean football. They don't take a ton of stupid penalties. And, they're just playing together as a group right now, as a family. And that is why they're on a 4-game winning streak and pushing for the playoffs late in the season. Just absolutely unbelievable what Coach Shane Steichen has done. It is, again, just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, people forget, the Colts are still underrated by a lot of league. Everyone's talking about the Browns or the Steelers or the Broncos, the Texans. It seems like everyone's forgetting about the Colts and the fact that they're right in the middle of this AFC playoff race. And, just Shane Steichen should be coach of the year. I understand DeMeco Ryans, but remember, Shane Steichen's had to do this with a backup quarterback and without Jonathan Taylor for most of the year. So just think about that for a second. Especially in his first season as an NFL head coach, going from from the most talented offense in the NFL, the Eagles, to a not as talented Indianapolis Colts roster. Just absolutely unbelievable what that man has done. And I hope he stays here forever to be our coach. Let's just give him a lifetime contract. Just have him sign a blank check and just have him fill out whatever he wants it to be. Gardner Minshew. Man, Gardner makes me nervous. Probably makes me more nervous than Carson Wentz did when he was here in 2021. This guy could just make some of the dumbest throws you could make, but this guy could also play hero. He's done it multiple times for us this season, and he did it again. Now, Gardner, in most of the games we won, has been a solid game manager in the game against Tampa Bay, the game against Tennessee earlier in the season, the game against Houston, where AR got hurt and he had to come in and finish. Just been a game manager who doesn't turn the ball over, and who's just there to provide a little spark to the offense and help the Colts win. Well, this week against Tennessee, Gardner had to put the team on his back, and he did. Now, despite some very questionable throws that he made, one of which at the end of the game, when there was 13 seconds left, I don't know why we just didn't kneel and take it to overtime. The pass got deflected at the line and nearly intercepted. Just thinking like, man, what is Gardner doing? But at the same time, he was so clutch at the end and helped us win. So Gardner on Sunday, 26 of 42 passing, 312 yards. He had a 300-yard game for the Colts, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, the most important part, and over 100 passer rating, took 3 sacks. Did lose a fumble towards the end of the first half again. Oh, and by the way, this was a double-digit comeback win for the Colts. They were down by 10 in the second quarter, so this was a comeback win for the Colts. Another comeback win. I believe it's their second straight Actually, I believe it's their third straight comeback win. So just shows again how amazing of a head coach Shane Steichen really is, and just the resiliency that this team has. Again, Jonathan Taylor did not play in this game due to an injury. Suffered a torn UCL in his thumb. He was reported to be out for 3 to 5 weeks. Shane Steichen, though, in his press conference today, said that he will not make a decision on Jonathan Taylor whether he plays or not. Although, to be honest, I doubt he is going to play. He's probably just saying that so the Bengals prepare for him. Because again, if you're any team, you want to make sure you prepare for Jonathan Taylor, because whether he's playing on a bad thumb or not, he's one of the most dangerous running backs in the league. But I don't expect Jonathan Taylor, though, to play on Sunday, unfortunately, over the Cincinnati Bengals, which after that Monday night game, that is going to be a hell of a game now. We've got to go out. We've got to play our best football, because that Bengals team, they are for real. And even without Joe Burrow, they are a well-disciplined team with an underrated defense, a good set of skill position players, and a quarterback who can make plays, and a really good head coach. So we have to play our absolute best football when we play them next Sunday. Now, the Colts relied on the rushing game against Tampa Bay in Week 12. They rushed for, I believe, Taylor and Moss combined for nearly 150 yards, had like 6 yards of carry. Unfortunately, this week, the rushing game was really a non-factor. Just 55 yards on the ground and 23 carries, 2.4 yards per carry after we gashed Tennessee in Week 5. Again, keep in mind, this was without Jeffrey Simmons being healthy in the second half. So not a really acceptable day for the run game. Moss, 19 carries for 51 yards, average less than 3 yards a carry. Kylan Granson actually had 1 rush on a 4th down play, in which he barely got the first down, a little tight end sweep. I didn't really like the call, but I mean, it worked in our favor, so I'm not going to complain about it. But I certainly want to get the rush game going. We have to get it going next week. I mean, as great as Gardner was, and as great as some of our receivers are, we are still a run-first team, in my opinion, and we got to stick to that. Man, Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce. What a game. Probably the best game that they've had combined as a receiving duo together. They both just absolutely dominated the Tennessee Titans secondary. Gardner Minshew, as we mentioned, had 312 yards. Well, 205 of those yards went to Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce alone. Just absolutely unbelievable. Pittman had 11 catches for 105 yards and a score. His his 4th touchdown of the season, I believe. Yeah, his fourth touchdown of the season, his second straight 100-yard game. Michael Pittman, pay that man. He is a free agent this upcoming offseason. There is absolutely no way in which we can afford to lose this guy. He has just such secure hands. I mean, I remember that drop against Washington last year, but we forget about that now because of how good the Colts have been this year. Other than that, though, he catches everything, like tremendous catch radius. He can run after the catch. He's got underrated speed. He can grab the touchdowns when you need them. He's got 4 touchdowns this year. He's got now has, I believe, 14 touchdowns in the last, actually has now 16 career touchdowns in 4 years, which is pretty solid all around. With 5 games left, his career high in touchdowns is 6, so he has a chance to set that. But it looks like Pittman is going to break the 100 catch, 1,000 yard mark for the second time. He has not reached the 100-yard mark yet, but he has had 1,000 yards, and last year he had over 900 yards. So yeah, this would be Pittman's first year going over 100 catches, but he also set the franchise record though for most catches by a Colts receiver through the first 4 seasons. The guy already has 314 career receiving yards, and the lowest he's had in a season was 40 in his rookie season. And keep in mind, he only played in 13. He missed 3 games that year. So Michael Pitt, I mean, again, he's had at least 87 catches each of the last 3 years. Again, the guy is just a catching machine. And his yards per catch isn't amazing or anything like that, but he is just so secure, so good on third down, and just a great, guy you can find for 7 8 yards. He can work the sidelines, he can work the middle of the field. He is a tremendous one-on-one ball catcher, and I just absolutely love the way that Michael Pittman plays. You just love the way that Michael Pittman plays. Now, Alec Pierce, he has had a very underwhelming season. Didn't even have 300 receiving yards coming into this game. We know his specialty is those downfield shots. We just haven't really seen many of them, though. Hoping to see some with AR. Never got them the short time we saw him, except for maybe 1 or 2. And Gardner's not really a deep ball thrower, so we never really got to see it. However, we finally saw it against Tennessee. Several chances that Pierce had. He had finished with 3 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. His first touchdown of the season and just the third of his young career. What a day Alec Pierce had for the Indianapolis Colts. And the crazy thing is, he could have had like 3. He was targeted 6 times. He could have had 3 touchdowns. He missed 2 other touchdowns that they missed. Bad throws by Gardner. But, man, AP just torched the Tennessee Titans secondary. And just absolutely unbelievable what he did. Started off the game less than 3 minutes in with a long touchdown, a 36-yarder. Beautiful ball from Gardner, his first of the season. That got the Colts going right after they allowed Tennessee to score. And then in overtime, the biggest moment of the game, 1st and 10 following a penalty on Tennessee for defensive holding. Gardner steps up, takes a deep shot to Alec Pierce. He gets behind the defender and takes it all the way down to the 4-yard line. I forgot to mention about Pittman. He scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime. The walk-off touchdown in overtime. The Colts walked this one off in overtime. I don't even remember the last time the Colts had a game-winning touchdown in overtime. It's been a long time since the Colts have walked it off in overtime in a game. I believe the last time was Vic Ballard in 2012. When the Colts played the Titans in Tennessee, so 11 years ago now, but Pittman walked it off on a nice play action from Gardner, and man, Pittman and Pierce, just an absolutely unbelievable game. And by the way, Kylan Granson, 3 catches, 72 yards. Probably maybe his best game of his career, honestly. Made some really good catches, made an incredible sideline catch to like a 15% catch probability, according to Next Gen Stats. Also, the Colts ran a little flea flicker, a little double reverse pass back to Gardner, and Granson was downfield, got to the 5. Now the Colts would turn it over after that, but hey, it doesn't matter. It was an awesome play, or I guess it did matter, but it didn't because the Colts ended up winning, so it doesn't really matter. But outside of that, I mean, those 3 alone combined for 277 of the 312 yards. So there was only 45 more yards to go around, or 35 more yards to go around, and not really much out of that. Downs 3 for 14. I wish we could get him the ball more, especially down this stretch of the season. Hopefully we can start to feed him the ball more. Will Mallory had a couple of catches, Zach Moss a couple out of the backfield, and that was pretty much it. Oh, and Tyler Goodson, by the way, off of the practice squad, had a couple of catches in the game. Offensive line, well, Braden Smith is out with a knee injury. We're not sure when he's going to come back. He did not practice today, so hopefully he doesn't miss this game, but it looks like he might miss this game, unfortunately. It just sucks that our line hasn't really been able to been healthy all at the same time. However, the line has been good enough, though, and I hope it continues to stay well, though. All right, let's turn over to the defensive side of the ball now. Struggled at points, only allowed 3 touchdowns, but They certainly did struggle, though. The secondary has been playing a lot better. I will give a ton of credit to the Colts secondary as they have just really improved, especially Darrell Baker and Jalen Jones. Darrell Baker and Tony Brown. Baker after week 2 and Tony Brown after week 8 both got slandered for their performances. However, they have both come back with vengeance and have really, really improved their game. They've stayed humble, they've stayed hungry, and they just continue to put in the work, and I am so proud of both of them for what they have done. Now, unfortunately, the defense, after containing Derrick Henry in the first game, they weren't really able to do that in this game against Tennessee. Henry looked like his old self against the Colts. He's tormented the Colts a lot of times. Usually that results in a Tennessee win, but not this week. 102 yards rushing for him and two touchdowns before leaving the game due to concussion. But Tyjae Spears also at 75 yards on the ground. The run defense is not really great, but hey, Grover Stewart's coming back. His 6-game suspension is over. That single-handedly changes the dynamic of this defense. So I cannot wait to see Grover Stewart back out there for the Indianapolis Colts as they take on the Bengals next week. Just like they did in the first game, the Colts had a hard time covering DeAndre Hopkins. Now, not as bad as the first game, but he did have 5 catches for 75 yards and a score. Other than that, they also had Chego Okonkwo with 62 yards. Other than that, no other receiver crossed 30 yards. Will Levis had a pretty solid game. I've got some respect on Will Levis. I think he's done an admirable job for what he's done. But I mean, ever since that first game against Atlanta, where some people went crazy over him and saying, "Oh, this guy was the best quarterback in the draft." Well, I mean, he's completed like 55% of his passes since then. So let's be real. Didn't even complete half of them. On Sunday, and also had a couple of fumbles, lost the fumble before getting it back, but he certainly could have a lot more turnovers than he does. He's just gotten so lucky on a couple of plays, but the Colts defense definitely has to be better. We have to be better, especially in the run D. Our pass rushing has been phenomenal. Our pass rushing just continues to improve. Our pass rushing has just done a great job all season, and they got Tennessee for 6 sacks on Sunday. That's right. The Colts defense had 6 sacks. Actually, I believe Will Levis had 3 fumbles, not 2, but the Colts had 6 sacks on Sunday. Just another great game. 2 more from Samson Ebukam after having 2 over Tampa Bay. He has been a magnificent free agent signing by Chris Ballard. If there's one thing that Chris Ballard knows how to do, it's the defensive line depth. Kwity Paye had 2 sacks as well. Dio Dangbo and DeForest Buckner continue dominating the trenches. Jake Martin got on the board with a sack. Eric Johnson a half a sack. And just a great day by the Colts pass rush. And with Grover Stewart coming back, the D-line is only going to get better, which is pretty scary to think about. And again, through these first 2 games without Shaq Leonard, the Colts haven't really missed a beat. I mean, their linebackers have still been solid. Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed just continue to play absolutely phenomenal football. So I am just really happy with the way they play. Funny enough, Zaire Franklin actually only had 6 tackles on Sunday. Kind of weird. That's very low for him, but that's okay because he's just been the Colts MVP on defense this year. But we have to talk about the Colts special teams. What a job they did. The special teams was definitely the MVP of the Colts this week. And honestly, the reason why they won, I mean, they were down 17-16 in the third quarter, and all of a sudden they turned that into a 25-19. So they turned that into a 25-19. I can't believe they didn't turn it into more, but it changed the momentum of this game, at least to overtime, and then the Colts would end up winning it. But the Colts, first of all, before you talk about the punt coverage, let's talk about Matt Gay. 4 for 4 on field goals, including a 46-yarder. Also made the only extra point he attempted because the Colts scored 3 touchdowns. They went for 2 on one of them. They kicked the extra point on the other, and the other one they didn't need to go for 2 because that was the overtime game winner. But Matt Gay has just been phenomenal this year. I believe he's only missed like 3 or 4 kicks all year, and that Baltimore game we'll never forget. 4 field goals from 50 or more yards, and then also another field goal on top of that. Extra point plus the 5 field goals he made. He has absolutely been worth the signing. How about Rigoberto Sanchez, though? 5 punts for 256 yards, averaged over 50 yards a punt. Really good to see. Isaiah McKenzie also with a pretty good kickoff return to get the game started, but the Colts blocked 2 punts in a row on the Tennessee Titans. Absolutely unbelievable. The Colts special teams coordinator, believe his name is Jason Martin. I'm just checking right now. It's not Bubba Ventrone anymore. Hang on, I'm just trying to see who the Colts special teams coordinator is. Brian Mason, that's it. Brian Mason, yeah. Absolutely unbelievable. 2 block punts in a row. It started off down 17-16 with Nick Cross, who's made some big plays the last couple weeks, getting on a block, and Grant Stewart picking it up for his first NFL touchdown. And then after that, Tony Brown rushed the punter, actually came from the wing, and then came over and rushed the punter, perfectly timed, like a 1,000 IQ play from Tony Brown. And they actually called that a forced fumble because Ryan Stonehouse, Tennessee's punter, dropped the ball before he could punt it. So he credited Tony Brown the forced fumble. Segun Olobi picked it up and took it to the 5-yard line before we would kick a field goal. But 2 block punts in a row. You got to give a lot of credit to Brian Mason. And it was so embarrassing from Tennessee that they fired their special teams coordinator, Craig Aukerman, after the game. So I mean, that's pretty embarrassing that actually ends up happening. But just absolutely unbelievable. I can't believe that we had 2 block punts in a row, and that's pretty much changed the tide of the game. So just absolutely unbelievable. Now the Colts from 2020 to 2021 actually, I believe, the Colts from 2020 to 2022, I believe, had 4 blocked punts returned for touchdowns. I might be forgetting some, but I'm pretty sure they had 4 blocked punts returned for touchdowns over those 4 years. So pretty unbelievable stuff from Colts. Remember in 2019 when the game where Nyheim Hines had 2 punt return touchdowns in the same game. So the Colts special teams has been pretty special the last couple of years. Kicking has been an issue, but at least, punt returning, blocking, kicks, and all of that has been pretty fun stuff to do. All right, so time to preview now the Colts game over Cincinnati. The Colts a 1-point favorite on the road. What a performance by Cincinnati on Monday night over Jacksonville, defeating them 34-31 in overtime, a game in which Trevor Lawrence suffered a high ankle sprain. Hope he gets well soon. You never want to see injuries like that. This has been the worst year of injuries for quarterbacks. And actually, they haven't rolled out Trev, though, to play this week over Cleveland, which is a pretty good sign. I don't think he's going to play, but he should hopefully he'll be back before the playoffs because that guy is a competitor and I've got a ton of respect for him, even though I don't really like the Jaguars. So I expect this honestly to be a pretty heavily I expect there to be a lot of passing in this game. Expect there to be some mistakes with 2 backup quarterbacks. So possibly we'll see some mistakes, but it should be a fun game though. Good atmosphere in Cincinnati now that they're back in the playoff race. And I just can't wait to see the game because it is just going to be an awesome game. And I just can't wait for it. Now, it looks like the weather's going to be pretty crappy on Sunday. Rain in Cincinnati, temperatures in the low 40s. So maybe there won't be so much passing. Maybe it'll be more run-based, and it'll just be the team who's made fewer mistakes. Although, I will say that remember the Baltimore game, the Colts played in the rain, and they made way fewer mistakes than the Baltimore Ravens did. So, hey, maybe that'll play out in their favor. But, in terms of who wins this game, I am still, with all due respect to the Bengals and what they've done over the last couple of weeks, I am still taking my Colts to win this game by a score of 17-13. I think the weather is going to play a bit of a factor in this lower scoring game, but I have the Colts coming out on top and continuing their run to the AFC playoffs. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the 12th Horseshoe Podcast. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I will see you next Wednesday for the show. Eli and I, we're doing our picks, our recap for week 13, our picks for week 14 tomorrow night. Eli with Sports Mono on Saturday. St. Mary's basketball beginning very soon. The first game is a week from tomorrow. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you tune in right here on Search Sports and hit the subscribe button. And that's pretty much going to do it, guys. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Jack Rizzo signing off. Go Colts and go New York Rangers. First place in the MLB right now. Hopefully they can keep that up. But have a great night, everyone. God bless.